Welcome to Behind the Muscle podcast. Today's guest is an IFBB pro and 202 Mr. Olympia. Today's guest is David Henry. David, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me on, man.
For sure. So, David, I like to start each podcast by asking all my guests two questions. The first question I have for you is, who are a few of your favorite bodybuilders of all time?
I guess growing up at the time, I had Arnold's Encyclopedia of Bodybuilding. So it's Arnold it was also Lee Priest, which was a weird thing as well. But he's been around a bit, so it was Arnold and Lee Priest.
Very cool. The second question, at what age did you start lifting weights? And then why did you start lifting weights at that age?
I didn't touch any weights until I was 16. And before that, it was just a track and field athlete in high school and stuff. And really, when I touched the weights, I didn't know what I was doing anyway for quite a bit, just goofing around. So didn't take it up seriously until I joined the military, actually.
Okay, cool. So I like to use that last question just to kind of transition into childhood and your upbringing. So if you don't mind chatting a little bit about where did you grow up and what did those younger years look like up to about high school, and then we'll move on from there.
I grew up in Texas. For those that still can't figure out that I'm a Texan, not an Arizonan, and that I've not been in Arizona for like the last almost 7 years after I retired from the military. So we keep saying that, retired from the military, 20 years, not in Arizona anymore, but originally in Texas. So from San Antonio, Texas, I grew up in Schertz, Schertz, which is a little outskirt right down the road from Randolph Air Force Base. Graduated from Clemens High School, ran track and field during high school. Never was a big guy. I was always about my same height, 5'5". I was 135 as far as my body weight went. That's pretty much it, man. I had a great childhood growing up. No, I was in trouble, but not in trouble with the law as far as on paper. Did a lot of silly stuff with my best friend and stuff. But on that, lifting weights, actually, we both, myself and Jimmy Barrientos, I remember growing up, we did a lot of that on his front porch. He had the solo flex, which was cool at the time when it came out. And we were doing all kinds of goofy stuff on there. Didn't know what we were doing, but anyway,
cool. Now I want to ask you, what's something that your parents kind of instilled in you during childhood?
Unfortunately, I'm from not a nuclear family, like that, a divided family, which a lot of people are these days. So my mom, fine, but my stepfather, none of that was really, there's nothing really instilled in me from childhood. I kind of had to figure a lot of that stuff out on my own. The real big things I really got out of that was know a little bit about everything, to be able to hold yourself in any conversation that you get. And I don't know, and your content of character, because growing up in the era that I did, you're judged, I guess, externally on your skin color and everything else before you open your mouth. So my mom taught me basically on that to how to be more educated in what they realize and shut them down with your knowledge, so they can't make judgmental like that. And that was really, that's what I grew up with, and I still do that to this day. Yeah,
for sure. Were there any coaches or any teachers or any adults when you were younger that kind of influenced you in a positive manner?
Man, I can't really say I had any influences growing up, man, like that. I didn't have any real big role models, stuff. I grew up in inner city stuff, with things going on, and basically had to figure a lot of that stuff out on my own, unfortunately. I never really got into, again, big trouble with stuff by doing seriously off the wall heinous stuff. But, I had to figure pretty much life out on my own,
For sure. No, I understand that. So when you were kind of growing up, getting into high school, thinking about, when you were wrapping up high school, what were you thinking about doing post high school, what did you kind of want to be when you grew up, and what did that kind of how did that take shape after you actually graduated?
I was very, very early, right out of high school. Anyway, had my daughter right there graduating, so I really didn't have a chance to what you want to be when you grow up. I kind of looked at myself, I was like, man, I'm working at Walmart in the automotive department, and I've got a family. I need more stability. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to join the military, because that's what I knew. My dad retired as well as but he was during the time he's active duty and stuff. And I was like, man, they're going to take my ID card from me and all the stuff that I know for military brat from me, the commissary, the base privileges, going into the gym and things like that. So I was like, man, how do I keep all that? Well, you can either go to school till you're 26, keep your ID card, or you can join the military. I was like, I guess I'm going to join the military. So that's what I did. It's one of those things. I wasn't forced to do it. I did it to take care of my family, and it's been that way ever since.
Very cool. So just from doing a little research on you and following you for a lot of years, I know that you were in the Air Force. If you don't mind just touching on a little bit of that 20-year career, and maybe some of the things that you did learn within the military, and just what was that experience like overall for you, David?
Yeah. I'm a retired Air Force Master Sergeant E7. I was a 2W1, 462, really, 462 first / 2W1, one of the last era of weapons troops to come in before we transitioned into our new Air Force specialty codes. So I'm a weapons troop. I'm a flight line weapons guy. Basically, what I did during those times was I loaded bombs and high explosives and stuff on B1s, A10s, HA-60 Pape Hawk, stuff like that, as a crew member. Worked my way up, of course, promotions and stuff for staff tech, became a flight line expediter for the A10 down at Davis-Monthan in Tucson, Arizona for a lot of years of that. Made Master Sergeant, promoted myself out of that, and became a desk jockey, and I hated that stuff so bad. That got me in more trouble, I think, than being out there on the line, flight line, because I couldn't sit still and do paperwork all damn day. That shit drove me nuts. So I get out there and I take my BDU top off, and I load bombs with my guys and girls out there at night, just because I knew supervision was going home, and no one knew what rank I was, so they wouldn't mess with me. So I'd be out there loading bombs, humping bombs, and loading ammo and stuff on the aircraft and stuff, just to help them out. So during the career, I had a really great career as far as that's concerned. I had some pretty good supervisors, had some excellent supervision, and then near the end of my career, I had some shady individuals that really tried to derail me for my bodybuilding and stuff, because they tried to make it as an excuse for any and everything on why I wasn't there and that kind of stuff. And if they're listening to it, they know who they are. Like I said, karma's a bitch. But my chiefs were good. My command staff was awesome. They supported me 100% of the way, because they could see by the EPRs, the decorations and stuff that I got, that I was doing what I was doing. And that's all that mattered. Again, it's one of those things, you matter to the people that pay your paycheck, if you will, and promote you. To the rest of them, well, they can suck it, but whatever. Like I said, to this day, if they're listening to it and they know who they are, they know who's to blame on that. I hold no qualms. I'm no longer holding back the person I was some years ago. I've grown up. I'm 46 years old, and I don't have time for the bullshit. So we're just gonna let it be as that. You like me or you don't like me, I could give your ass. That's not my point. And another thing my parents instilled in me: you're not on this planet to have everybody like you.
Amen. Yeah. So one more question about your military experience, and we'll get into bodybuilding. In terms of leadership, obviously you worked your way up in rank and everything, and you had people above you and then people beneath you at some point. In terms of leadership, what are a couple things that you just maybe share with myself and listeners that you think make a great leader?
One that's not afraid to realize where they came up from. Let's see. you were a worker. Everyone at that point used to be at ground level. So make sure that you understand what it is to be at that level and stuff. Just because you're up above and you're in charge of doing those kinds of things, don't forget that those down below you were where you used to be. So you need to shine by showing them the way. It's called lead, follow, get the hell out of my way, right? It's one of those. It's one of those options. I chose to lead, and those that I did lead, hopefully, if some of them hear this too and are on the stages and stuff, can attest to the fact that I did the best of my abilities. Again, all that's subject to interpretation from those that didn't see everything else around. A lot of people have blinders on. They see what they want to see and they don't get the whole scope of everything else. But for leaders, they should get the scope of everything else. They should look around. They should be in the know of current events. They should be in the know of current affairs. Know your people. For any of those in leading positions right there, know your people. Know something about everyone that you are above, around, and associate with, at least something. Because the worst thing I found as a leader is not knowing those things. And when someone asks you the question, how embarrassing that is to not know that, hey, Joe over here is married with 3 kids. If you can't even give them that simple information, you suck. You really do. You need to know that kind of stuff. Don't just be surface level. Try and get something in there and try and get in the dirt with your people and get the climate of what you're doing. That, I think, overall is going to make you an excellent leader, which is why I was chosen for a lot of things, to do a lot of public speaking in the military, in front of command staff and things like that, because I can articulate myself to an extreme level and get that stuff out there to them.
Very cool. I appreciate you touching on that, David. So you mentioned earlier that you started actually kind of really getting into weight training once you got in the military. So just talk about how you were kind of introduced to strength training, and then just talk about the unfolding of bodybuilding, and we'll kind of talk about your contest history and touch on that. Okay.
Yeah. So I came in, I remember I was 24 years old, and I got hit for OSAN, which is a remote tour for the Air Force guys that know, or most of the other guys that know. Remote tours is solo without your family for 1 complete year. And that was an Osan Air Base in South Korea. So I was there first time. Boom. I got introduced to a bunch of dudes in the gym because I was like, man, I'm bored. I'm in the dorms by myself. Like, need something to do. So started goofing around, picking up Flex magazine like most people do back in the time when magazines were the coolest thing ever. And you had to wait every month to get new stuff. And I flipping through it, man, and I was like, man, I can do this. So I started doing picking up routines out of there, the highlight ones that they put in, and training. I was like, and then they were like, oh, Mr. Osan is coming up. I was like, what's that? It's like, it's a bodybuilding competition. It's a big one on the peninsula. I was like, sweet. I'm like, I'm gonna enter that. So I got my first bodybuilding diet out of there and stuff, and went on to win the most muscular in the lightweight novice division, I think, as well. Didn't win the entire thing, but man, that gave me the bug. I got back from there, got back to my next base. After that, played with weight training off and on. I was probably in the gym maybe 2 to 3 times a week, nothing real serious. I was one of those fluffy guys that had that like soft beach muscle. It looked probably impressive in a t-shirt, but you take it off and all the lines blurred, nothing delineated. So that was about the end of that. Fast forward into 9/11. So I got to my next base at Dias. Man, 9/11 hit. I was a second unit to be deployed over there to the desert. And while I was over there, met a bunch of cool powerlifters, man, because that's the kind of equipment and stuff that was there in the giant California tent. So these California tents are these real huge canvas tents, man. And if most of these military dudes know, if they're listening to this, these are giant. They're big. They can house like 20, 30 cots down in a row and stuff, if not more in a row. But this was made into a training facility, and they had standardized equipment in there. So I learned how to bench press the proper ways for powerlifting. I did a lot of sumo deadlifts. I did a lot of squatting and stuff. Didn't learn how to tap into my legs as usual during that time, but whatever, we'll get to that later. But I learned all that kind of stuff. So I blew up, man. I got over there at 167 pounds, and I looked like 191 pounds when I got back and stuff. So I got back from deployment, and I was like, man, it was 2002. So 9/11, 2002 was that. I got back. I contacted Rich Daugherty from Beverly International. I was like, man, I'd like to compete here, in Texas since I'm at Dias. Would you help me out? He's like, man, I got you. He's like, what do you think you should do next? So man, let's run these shows and stuff. He goes, well, you got 6 weeks. Now let's back it up a little bit. I competed in Texas and won all the Texas shows during that time before I deployed. And that was just as a natural athlete, just going. I was actually winning these shows because I was gaining some notoriety and learning how to train and stuff, and train effectively and stuff. So like I said, I deployed to the desert, came back, still was bit by the bodybuilding bug, contacted him, Rich. He said, man, you got 7 weeks to prep from now to the USAs. Because I was nationally qualified from a bunch of the Texas shows already. He's like, 7 weeks. He's like, I think we can do this. So man, he ripped me down from my desert weight to 164 pounds for the middle weights. I took second to Stan McQuay that year, controversial to people that they didn't know. And I was told by a little birdie passing by that I wouldn't win it because I was not the name that they knew. And I'm still pissed to this day. And the individual knows who he told me that about that. But I was like, yeah, whatever. And then when it happened, that's when you're like, you burned your ass. But so later on that year, gained a couple more pounds, and I got my pro status at 167 pounds at the Dallas Nationals 2002. I still have the original ticket. It was sponsored by GNC at the time. It was Bodyonics Pinnacle Nationals. And that's where it all began, my man.
Very cool. Now I want to ask you, you said you got kind of bitten by the bodybuilding bug. What do you think specifically, looking back, or as you've thought about it through the years, what was it specifically, David, you think kind of like really pulled you into bodybuilding? And you're like, man, this is something I want to pursue.
I wanted, man, while I was over in Korea, I wanted to be a WWE wrestler. The Tough Enough crew came around the base. They were touring, and I was like, damn. And I watched WWF at the time before they got freaking sued by the World Wildlife Foundation for infringement. Is ridiculous anyway. But that's what I grew up on. I grew up, man, with the Sheik and Hulk Hogan and all those guys. I used to watch AWA. I was taken to a few matches. So I watched wrestling all the way up to still kind of do off and on. So when they Tough Enough came out, I was like, man, I could totally do this. Made everything, man, other than height. Boom, height cut me off right there. They wanted 5'8" at the time. I know Rey Mysterio and the rest of those guys, little smaller individuals are making big time and stuff. But at the time that they were looking, I had done everything else and made everything else other than the height. So that's a pass or grad, I guess. If I had been taller, I'd been a WWE wrestler instead of a pro bodybuilder. So people don't know that's what I've been. Stone Cold's still my idol then, because he's from Victoria, Texas. And I used to run around all kinds of awesome 316 shirts on and stuff like that, and met him, and he's got his autographs and things like that. So he's a real big influence on the career on that.
Love that. So what was it specifically about bodybuilding then that you that really kind of pulled you in, David?
My back development, man, really. I did a ton of pull-ups from childhood to now, even now, and started seeing that stuff pop up like it did. I was like, man, that looks good. I like that, because you can't see it really until you get in the mirror and start checking it out. And I was like, I started shaping up really nice, and people were taking notice of that. And at the time, being doing what you're doing, you kind of actually want people to see. You kind of want them to take notice of you. So, you run around strutting your stuff like you're the baddest thing on the planet and stuff. And I was in my 20s. So that was the mentality and everything, running around with little string tanks on and your Zubaz pants and your and all the rest of that kind of funny looking stuff that we had in the 90s and stuff, man, and in the early 2000s. And, you lift weights? Yeah. So that was that. So people taking notice and stuff was one of the hype things that got me in there. I was like, man, I can do more with this. If they're noticing this right now, and I'm only you know, in my 160s, 170s, man, what can I do from this point? And when I won nationals, that's what actually pulled me into saying I can do this, because that's when I saw I could get shredded glutes. I got straight ones across the scorecard from all the people that are current pros now. So that did it.
Makes sense. Now, I want to talk about, you know, that mindset when you turned pro at the nationals in 2002. You said you're 167 pounds. Now, at that point, there was no 202, there was no 210, 212, nothing like that, correct?
That's correct. Absolutely correct.
So talk about your mindset when you earned your IFBB pro card in terms of competing, and what did that look like before these lower weight divisions came to be?
You know what? I didn't even think about that, man. That honestly was not part of the mindset once I hit that pro status. I look back and I was like, ooh, I look good for being that tiny and shredded, but I needed more size, and I knew I needed more size. So I did what I had to do for getting the size up there, and blew up from 167 to 187 competitive weight about a year and a half later from that, because I didn't hit the stage in 2003 at all. I didn't know that there was a protocol that you had to actually send off and request contracts to compete. So 2003, I was expecting like me to just say I want to compete in these shows, and that's what had happened and stuff. I was no one helped me. You know, all the stuff I figured out then was because no one helped me. I had to figure out on my own through necessity. So 2003, it was a total banner year. I trained in Tucson at Davis Mountain when I got there in May of 03. You know, I thought I was going to do a GNC show of strength where Gunter beat Ronnie. And like, yeah, I'm going to go do this and stuff. And it didn't pan out. I didn't get a contract because I didn't request one like an idiot. But then 2004, I knew that's what I got to do. And I started competing from that point out.
So what was your pro debut? And I want you to expound more on, because like you stepped on the stage with the open men, you were an open bodybuilder at the beginning of the year. And I just want you to talk about that, because, you know, those of us that understand the magazine years and pre-212 and all that, like it was a different game. So some of the listeners that are younger, they don't even know that there wasn't a 212, or there used to be a 202 when I saw you compete at the Olympia in 2008. So just talk about that mindset and talk about your pro debut and just kind of moving forward, competing with the open guys.
Man, that was awesome. Either way, I mean, I was on stage with guys that I was literally like probably a month prior to reading in the magazines. And I'm like, damn, I've got the same status that these guys have as far as to compete with. And I don't recall my pro debut stuff, but man, I was all over the map. I did like 7 contests in 2004, I think. And I took 7ths all the way down, which is weird. So I probably should have gambled that year, probably won the lottery. I don't know, man. But it was really strange. You know, I competed with Dexter Jackson and all those guys, and Ronnie and the rest of those guys were at the Olympia, of course. So they didn't hit those other lower shows, but Durham Charles was a real big influence on me. Matter of fact, we hung out quite a bit. He was the king of the $10,000 shows, as they called them, and stuff. But made some really good friends. Johnny Jackson was them, you know. And then I got hit with Muscle Tech in 2005, but we'll go into that later on. But 2004 was the year where I started figuring this stuff out. Started learning how to train differently, because then I was DC training, and my coach at the time, Scott Stevenson, took me in, and I started gaining a lot of muscle and getting a lot of strength built up, and my body was changing immensely at that rate and stuff. So I was learning, I was going, and it was really good. I didn't care that they outweighed me by a bunch. I thought I was that little guy with the little guy syndrome, you know, and I was like, I'm stepping on stage for these guys. I don't care, man. I hit, and I was doing fairly well. I mean, Ahmed Haidar was one of the good dudes that was out there as well. And, you know, and we held our own. I wasn't last. I was never last in any of these contests, which to me fired me up even more. Very
cool. So talk about the inception of 202 and kind of the weight cap divisions, and obviously you're a pioneer of those divisions. So talk about that, and what did that do for you specifically in terms of your career?
Well, I was approached by Robin Chang, and Robin Chang said, "Dave, we're creating a new division." I said, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "We're creating the 202 class." I'm like, "Okay, explain." You know, he goes, "Bro," he goes, "this was designed specifically for you." For those that don't know who Robin Chang is, he was AMI's lead Olympia dude for several years before Dan Tolman took over, and Robin Chang went on to do greater things. But Robin Chang approached me and said, "Man, this was designed for you guys that cannot step on stage with the same silhouette as the guys who outweigh 40, 50, 60 pounds at times and stuff." He goes, "So this will give you an even playing field and level it out almost height-wise and weight-wise for those of you who turn pro." Because we were like, man, where do you go once you turn pro at a bantamweight? Where do you go when you turn pro as a welter, as a lightweight, as a light heavy? You know, where do you fit in on that other than trying to do some silly stuff and put your weight up to some ridiculous numbers, you know, and probably at your extreme health? So he said, "We created this thing for you." Now, I remember someone who's now a nice MC on the stage who gave us shit saying it would never fly. And well, I guess he recants that right now. But once it happened, we got a lot of hype, man, a lot of hype. Now, the last one I did was 2007, Ronnie Coleman's last show, where he placed fourth, and I took top 10 at the Olympia. That's where the 208, the 2008 Mr. O 202 stuff was coming up to make its debut. Because that's when they approached me right after that, because they're like, "Man, you see what he did? He top 10 this and a group of open dudes, and I only weighed 187 pounds at the time. And I got my top 10 at the Open O. So most that don't know that, yes, I did. And I got the certificate, that $14,000 check, and the medal go along with that. So, and that was for 14, or that was for top 10. That's 10th place. So I was like, man, that when I would collect my first check like that, I was like, oh, dude, that's the heat. So when they created that, yes, they said it was created for you. And he specifically mentioned me because he came to me for it. He goes, "I think you'd be a great ambassador for it," and stuff. So I was groomed up to that point, and I didn't like take that lightly. I actually trained hard and heavy and died like I'm supposed to. And when I won that in 2008, I legitly earned that, you know. And then that's when, you know, Giant Killer and all that stuff was coming more on board. They called me that in 2005 when I won the Olympia wild card. Either way, Dan Solomon and Bob Ciccarello both on stage said that. So let's make sure that all those current GK fans and Giant Killer fans know who the OGK really is and where that name came from. The two individuals that are still announcing and still promoting the shows now.
For sure. So what year did you step on the Open Men's Olympia stage?
2005.
2005. And then how many times did you compete on the Open Men's Olympia stage?
Jesus, man. I think, hold on. So 2005, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, missed 10. So 11, 12, 13, 14. 15 years, 15 Olympias.
Awesome, man. So what was it like, David? Because you said something about, like, you know, you just saw these guys in the magazine, then you're stepping on stage. So I know you've been competing for a lot of years and had a lot of experiences, but like that first time stepping on the Olympia stage, what was that like for you? What was kind of going through your mind, if you can recall?
I made it. Just like anybody who goes to the Super Bowl. It's like, win or lose, you've earned your shot to be on that stage. You're on the same exact stage, if you will, as Arnold, as, you know, Lou Ferrigno, as Lee Haney, you know, all those famous greats, Momo Benaziza, Samir Banu, you know, all those guys that Andreas Calling, man, that dude was ridiculous. Andreas Munzer as well. Though all those guys earned the right to be on that stage, and it didn't matter the placing at the time. It's like, you're up there, the world will see that, whoever's tuning in at the time will see that. And that's when I think ESPN was covering that, I think, at most times too, and it wasn't pay-per-view and stuff. And So they were covering that kind of footage, and man, I was like, I made it. So I didn't care. I was there. I was like, because you could talk to everybody else. Everybody, you could say what you want. And until you step on the old stage, why are you doing what you're doing? Are you trying to see how far you can go? Well, if you're going as far as you can, that should be your ultimate pinnacle. That should be the end all of yourself. Whether you do it again ever after that or not, you made it there.
100%. In person, who is the freakiest bodybuilder you've ever seen?
Kai Green.
Really?
That man, I stood next to him in Vegas, man, after the Olympia, I think in 2018. And I'm like, he was in there doing just a photo shoot for something. And I'm like, this has got to be the largest individual I've ever seen in person. Like he dropped his pants and he's wearing these gas booty shorts, and the man is just immensely huge. I'm like, that's like 320 pounds of ridiculousness sitting right in front of me. And he's doing stuff, and he looked like those Muscleheads cartoons that used to be around. And that's literally what he looked like to me. I was like, you see this shit? I was like, to my wife, I was like, this is absolutely ridiculous. And to have that amount of muscle on him. So by far the freakiest dude I've ever seen in person.
Love that, man. So you brought up Dr. Scott Stevenson. He's been a guest on the podcast. How did he kind of change you mentioned you started changing your training and stuff style, but what did he kind of bring to the table to progress you as a professional bodybuilder?
Well, one, he instilled health and wellness above all others. And I know a lot of people out there probably scoffing and they got a lot to say, but again, if you don't know Scott's record and his reputation, Dr. Scott Stevenson, okay? Not a doctor of medicine, but he's got acupuncture. He's board certified acupuncturist. He's got several degrees. He's got a PhD. He and John Meadows, probably the two smartest dudes that were behind the scenes out there that they don't know of. And first and foremost, he taught me was to take care of yourself internally, because by and large, what we do is not healthy. And we understand that. We take the inherent risks that are associated with that. So if you don't like what you're doing and you don't want to know what the end result is, don't do what we do. I'm just going to put that out there right now. But there are ways to mitigate and lessen the effects of what we do, where you're not any of these casualties happening. Okay, so just make sure we understand that as well. Any of the young listeners out there, don't try and push stuff too fast and too hard, period. Take care of yourself first. If it becomes a problem, reassess and judge yourself. Hey, family more important, or is that stage more important? Because guess who's going to be there when it's all done? You know what I mean? So he taught me that first. Then we started going after the training, how to train smart, which is why at 46 years old, I've never had a major catastrophic injury. Never. I've tweaked some things because I've gotten a little out of sorts of myself and went a little overzealous on a couple of things. And that just anyone, male-dominated attitude. But overall, started teaching me smart ways to train, how to activate the muscles a lot differently, how to feel, how to get in touch with that stuff, how to get that mind-muscle connection in these areas that I was having a problem with. And so when he brought on DC training with that initially in 2003, we progressed through that rapidly, put on a lot of mass during that time. And then he became his pioneer with his fortitude training. And he basically took a few coaching styles out there and forged it into his own thing. Because I was up there doing DC. I'm in the gym literally doing his routine that I've been doing, and he's running around doing all this other stuff. I'm like, man, what the hell are you doing? He goes, I'll bring you on board, Dave. I'll let you know what I'm doing later. Right now, I'm be the guinea pig for what I'm testing out. So he tested himself out. Everything he's shown me to this day, he's tested on himself and brought me on board afterwards and explained in detail why he's doing what he's doing. So a lot of coaches will not do that. They'll just tell you just do it and do as I say, not as I do, and not explain the theory and stuff behind it. But me now with my training and my training of my people, when I coach people now, I do the exact same thing. So he has influenced me by quite a bit with all that.
Excellent. So I want to talk about longevity within the sport of bodybuilding. What are some practices? What are some things that you've done over the years, David, to produce that longevity that you've had in the sport?
Blood work, my friends. Blood work. I know some of y'all are a mess running around right now listening to this. Don't want to know what you look like inside, but that's this kind of stuff that's going to come up and get you. You got markers in there for a reason. And if you're not cool with your primary care, go get a primary care specialist that deals with athletes, that deals with the stuff that we do. And that way they don't freak out and start sending you for all kinds of damn tests that you don't need. That's first and foremost on that. But definitely get your blood work, get it done every 6 months, if not more often. Usually get it done before a show, see where I'm at, after a show to see what kind of damage I did do, and then try and mitigate that down to regular levels with stuff. And we go from there. By and large, it's still to this day, I haven't had any so no big issues with a lot of things that would hurt a lot of people. And this because, again, Scott Stevenson with his approach to longevity and internal health, that I've taken all that. Him and Dante Trudell, those two are really big on the spectrum of taking care of yourself internally. So that's why I've been able to come around here and stay around here, smile and nod, and still here after all these years, man, and enjoy what I do.
What about like chiropractic work, body work? Is that stuff that you've incorporated to over the years?
Yes. If you can afford to, most definitely get body work done. I'm talking deep tissue massage. They're not there to make you feel good. They hurt, period. And they're constructed for a reason like that. If you can afford to get it at least twice a month, I would say incorporate that into your program. Chiropractic work, yes, because longevity of our spines and our central nervous systems are paramount. So get you someone that you can trust in, that knows athletes' bodies and stuff, and that can snap, crack, and pop you up the way they need to as well. So those things, yes, they can be expensive and stuff. So this industry is not cheap by any means, and anyone who tells you it is, they're full of it, or they're making too much money, and they probably shouldn't be in bodybuilding. But you got to get those things done. Different modalities help you out. If you can get acupuncture done as well for any aches and pains, and some that's helped me out also with muscles not firing. I had a central quad, the medialis issue for a little bit, and then I had some therapy done on that, and some electro stem therapy done like that, and it's back, and it's 100%. So those things work. You just got to believe in this stuff. Western medicine, we cut, hack, and give pills for everything. This is the reason why these other countries are outliving us, because we are not following them. They've been doing these things that have been proven over the years, and no, they may not be FDA approved and stuff. Well, we already know the FDA takes forever doing what they do, and people are dying left and right before they approve some things. So again, do your research. Don't trust in what I say. Do your own research out there and figure it out for yourself. But that's what I do. I take internal health real big. And my family here, they want to see me around for a while. When I'm done with the stage, I'm done with the stage. Get your chiropractic work done, get your blood work done, get your markers there. If anything's wonky and you just feel like it's not worth it, step away. There's no shame, absolutely no shame in living the next day. There is when you do something stupid and then you're not there the next day. So like I said, I'm 46. I don't have time for the crap. Just take care of yourself, because no one's going to do it for you.
For sure. Now we talked about Scott Stevenson. You brought up Dante Trudell. Was there anybody else, whether a fellow competitor or a coach, that was a huge mentor or an influence on you within the bodybuilding community, David?
Yeah, man. Pete Chacon, another dude, fantastic individual. Coach Pete out there in the 619 representing. We spent a lot of time over in Ireland some years back when I won the Ireland Muscle Contest Ireland, and we were just sitting there talking, over dinner and everything. And man, a brilliant dude. He and his wife Marissa have a fantastic coaching and personal training setup out there in San Diego. So I was like, man, he's like, Dave, you should get into this. I'm like, why? I said, I hate people. I said, people suck. I said, I don't like dealing with people. He's like, yeah, you're in the wrong industry. I said, well, I can make it work for this. I said, I don't have the patience to deal with people on that level. And then he's like, well, how do you know? I was like, you know what? I'm lying if I say I don't know. And I don't know because I've never put myself in that position. So I was like, man, so we talked about it. He helped me lay out my entire plan. He sent me some groundwork of stuff and everything. And from that point on, when I got back, I hit the ground running, man. I set up my personal training and online coaching business, man, and been flying high from there, left and right, which again, if he's listening to this, or give a shout out to Pete Chacon, man, the dude is a good dude. And there's not many good people that you meet that are not trying to stab you in the back and do stuff and get stuff from you, something for nothing. But he's definitely one to make note of, that he's a real quality individual, and definitely respect all the way around.
What about Jose Raymond? You guys connected pretty well, right?
That fool, man. That's my boy. That dude, he's got me. Him and Guy Cisternino, those two clowns have got me in more shit in the IFBB as we traveled around the world together than any two knuckleheads on the planet. But you know what? It's all fun. It is super fun. The stories we could tell would just drop people's jaws. They'd be like, "Are you serious?" I'm sure at one point Jose and Guy talked about the whole butt cramp hamstring incident. If you didn't hear about that already.
No. Why don't you tell us? Let's get.
No, that's not my story, my man. Make sure if you get one of those two on the podcast, they tell you about it.
I've had both of them on. We didn't get to that, but why don't you give us at least one good story?
One good story. All right.
Yeah.
Well, since Guy Cisternino is now retired, he's probably gonna hate me for this. I think we were in India, and he was getting tanned in the room, and he was drying. So my man is butt naked in the room, and he's drying after he's got tan. And he's like, okay, I gotta go back to my room. The fool opens his door and starts streaking down the hallway to his room, butt ass naked, to his hotel room door. I was like, dude, you know there's cameras in the hallways, right? We're in this 5-star India hotel. And then they got this tan Italian dude, bodybuilder, running down the damn hallway, about 6 doors down. So it wasn't a quick jaunt. Stuff flopping all around, then you go hit your door. So there's that one.
There we go.
He did.
That's good. No, both those guys have been guests on the podcast, and they're both fun dudes. So I want to talk just a little bit about your coaching. So you said Pete kind of helped you set up your coaching. Talk about what you enjoy about coaching other people and seeing other people's success, whether that's just in life or on the bodybuilding stage.
I definitely prefer the lifestyle side of it, because that's easy to do. To have people change their lifestyles is one of those things that's it's an easy thing to do, especially when you can show them how to sustain that and not make it an impediment. When you start impeding things in your life, people won't do it. They won't stick with it. So what I teach, preach, and coach with my lifestyle individuals, how to make some changes, how to stick with this stuff, how to drop LBs over the week and stuff and still feel good, how to make a body comp change that they feel good about. And I tell them levels, everybody from the lifestyle level to the competition. I tell everyone it's always levels, man. You got to get to one level before you get to the next. I said, this is not Mario Brothers where you can jump in the tube and magically appear on the other side and that stuff just happens. It does not. You got to pass certain worlds. You got to pass certain levels to get where you want to be. And whether it's going up in levels, as a bodybuilder, or dropping down in levels as a lifestyle change, because you're coming to me for one or two reasons. Pete Chacon was instrumental in that. He helped me get this stuff set up. I enjoy seeing the people's faces when they come in, and I get another competitor or another client who's in the gym training opposite of them on their own, and going, man, I like really what you've done to her. I see, man, she's changing a lot, and that's happened several times. And just like what I do, everyone's they're like a groundhog in the gym. They're popping up trying to see what Dave Henry's doing. What they can see and stuff, and trying to mimic and mark moves and techniques and stuff like that, but they don't get the one-on-one. And that's what I try and do. And during the time when we wear masks, man, it was really great, because they can read your lips and all that stuff too. They didn't know what I was saying. But now, they get the one-on-one. They see specifically why I'm showing them how to. Every time they hear, hey, watch this, they're like, oh, crap. And that's the same thing that happened every time I train with Scott. He goes, Dave, I got something for you. I'm like, damn it. In my head, I got something for you, or let me show you something, means more pain somewhere along the line. So unfortunately, I've managed to adopt that into my whole system too, and it hasn't left since. I mean, like, Scott was my coach for 17 years, man. So it's quite a long friendship with that stuff. And I've learned quite a bit and instilled that, because it makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. So in terms of training, how have you adjusted your training over the years as you've aged?
Um, I'm still getting better, man. I'm still getting stronger, almost to the point it's scary strong, where I had to back off my training a little bit because I didn't know if whether something was gonna hurt something. I'm 2 weeks out and I'm doing things, I'm like, ooh, I probably should not go that heavy on stuff. But I'm feeling good. So I was like, let me back it off. I'll just go ahead and use more reps and stuff like that. Because I don't need any injuries. I'm not trying to prove anything to anyone. I am still trying to refine and stuff before it's all said and done. Be the best Dave Henry that I possibly can be at the end of the day of that. But the training has been more smartly driven, man. I tell you what, it's been a combination of things that I show my trainees and that I institute myself now on things and how to have better joint health, how to live longer with doing the same types of movements and exercises and things like that. So, like I said, at the end of the day, I don't want to be a broken individual. I don't want hip issues. I don't want neck issues. I don't want my clients to have hip, neck, or spinal cord issues and stuff. I want them all to be able to go out on their own when they're done, if they are done, and still walk under their own mobility. Not use a machine, a cane, a walker, or any other stuff. And that's, it's not poking fun at anyone or anything, but man, if you're not smart, the stuff can hurt you, and just be aware. So get your blood work done for internal health, get your outside work done for overall skeletal health, and you should be all right. You should be all right.
Have you like with your own training yourself, have you transitioned to more machines, or is it still a lot of the compound stuff that maybe you used to do?
No, more machines, because man, today's machines are designed very, very well. There's a lot of Nautilus stuff out there. There's a lot of pre-core things out there now that can simulate those types of free weight movements, especially if you're like me. I don't train with a partner. I have to be able to know when to say when. And if I drop that weight or machine or whatever, I'm in a safe space. I don't tear anything. I don't crush my fingers, my toes. I don't drop it on my face. Stuff like that. Yes, every now and then, I'll get on the dumbbells and do, some heavy presses and stuff like that. But I will grab one of my trainees or someone around me to help me with that kind of stuff. But I don't squat outside a rack. If I'll squat, it'll be inside a rack, things like that with markers set up, stuff. But I use a combination of things. And if I do free weight, they're not super, super heavy. It's more along, I can show you how to do this versus tell you how to make more muscle activation. It's been working phenomenally well, actually. And none of my clients would tell how I make that 100-pound dumbbell feel like it's a 150-pound dumbbell and still incorporate a lot more muscle tissue growth. So, but it's pretty good, man. I've been learning a lot of stuff on my own, been practicing on my own, and I'm seeing it take shape. So what you're going to see in Toronto in a couple of weeks will be the culmination of that.
Excellent. So talk about the Legion show. You won 212 Masters and then the overall Masters World Champion. What was that experience like? And then why don't you talk about your prep leading up to the Toronto Pro?
Yeah, man. I went in guns blazing on this show because I was like, I was doing the Olympia, so I passed it up to the Legion. The Legion Sports Fest was a good baby because I won that in 2019. And Chris Minnis he's a fantastic promoter. Let's put him out there on the spot too. Fantastic promoter. Anybody who's promoting shows, look up to this guy. Stop being bullshit with your shows. Do what you're supposed to do as a promoter. Be there for your athletes, be there for your people, and get stuff done. The dude got it done. And I said, you know what? I'm so impressed with this show on how you ran it, man, and how you were accessible. I said, if you do it again, I will be there, hands down. Boom. He did it. I was like, well, I'm on it. He said, if I do show, would you compete? I was like, hell yeah, man, you got me there. So I was true to my word, and by anything else, your words are all you have. So I competed in it. I said, why did you decide to do the 40 versus? I was like, why not? I said, Dexter Jackson did one before he retired. Why not? He went and competed in something that was labeled Masters. I was like, why not throw myself in there? And there's a lot of good dudes, man, in that stuff. Rusty Jeffers and stuff like that. Man, the guy's been around for quite a while and looks fantastic for his age as well. Poses like crazy, clean, still looks good. So I was happy to be up there with him, and that just added to my overall titles and stuff that I have, and that's 14 now. For those that are lacking counting, 14 times to include the Olympia. So, but it makes me feel good, man. It makes me feel good. I'm not letting it get to my head. Anyone can be beaten on any given day, depending on how you show up. But I go in just like that with the winner's attitude, like the rest of these guys should do.
So, leading up to the Toronto Pro, then, are you gonna what division are you competing in?
Oh, the 212.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
cool.
212. Yeah.
What's kind of your mindset then going forward into 2022? And do you have any plans of retiring, or are you just going to take it year by year?
We're taking it year by year. There will be some upcoming announcements. Probably, I don't know, earlier in the year. I don't know. It depends on when I guess it'll seem fit and feasible. But definitely, I ain't done yet, so that's not happening. But be some good stuff, man. I'm going into this one right here, the last one right of the year for me. December 5th, as mark it off as a good year. On that, I got a couple wins right there in my belt, and that's a good year for me anytime. And 2022 should be a banner year because I think they're having the Boston Pro Show in March. And if that's the case, I'm trying to talk my new client my other client that I turned pro in the Masters division to do the Open, and I'll do the 212. So my big boy, my big super heavyweight, my 275 heavyweight, Matt, see if he'll do the Open with me, and I'll do the 212. So you have coach and client on the same stage.
That would be super cool.
It's in my backyard, man. It's like there's no excuse then. I have the entire family up there for that one.
Maybe you can talk Jose out of retirement and get him back on the stage too, huh?
Yeah, I know. Look at the guy. So everyone would think that they're like, that's kind of weird, man, because he looks like he's prepping for something. And I'm his good damn friend, and I'm like, dude, what's going on? He's like, my shoulders are shot. I can't do shit, Dave. He goes, all the best to you, man. And I was like, dude, all right, bro. Yeah, you're not fooling anyone, man. I know you, bro. I just saw you last weekend. Yeah, you're looking like a tank. But so who knows, my man? Who knows? I mean, anything's possible. And if he needs some shoulder health tips and stuff, he can come to his good buddy Dave. I'll hook him up. Show how to train around it.
Yeah. So we're gonna wrap up the conversation here in a couple more minutes. I want to touch on a few more things with you, David, and then we'll be done. But social media, how has that changed bodybuilding, and what are your thoughts on it?
I hate that stuff, man. So bad. I really do. And people say what you want, but social media has ruined the entire process of bodybuilding, from sponsorships down to waiting for information. And besides that, it gives these armchair quarterback bodybuilders a platform that they normally would not dare in your face have the balls to say. And it opens it up for attacks, personal attacks, and stuff. I'm like, really? It's like, is it necessary to even do that? How about just stay your ass off there? Or just like a TV channel. If you don't like what you see, turn the channel, keep rocking. What does it have to do with you? How does it impact your life? It doesn't. Right. Well, then you can STFU and go do something else, because that stuff is out of control right now. The amount of hate and vitriol on the social media platforms is world class. We got some world-class individuals out there right now, and they know who they are. Every time they spot about something negative, it's like, these dudes and girls are showing you guys stuff that they're proud of. If you don't like it, it's not your deal. Why do you think you have the guts? And does your family like what you're doing right there? Because chances are most of them are up there freaking keyboard that shit in their room and stuff, while wife and child are in the other room, and you're talking shit about some pro bodybuilder or some other bikini chick. Like, yeah, well, yeah, you're a real freaking man right there. That's what you got to do. But it's really sponsors basically because all this affiliation stuff, and using people as ambassadors, things where we used to get paid tens of thousands of dollars a month to do, is now by the wayside of, we're going to give you free stuff. And now you got all these dudes running around gym with all their shit saying, I'm sponsored. I'm like, man, you ain't freaking sponsored. You're getting free stuff, and free stuff doesn't pay the bills, just so you know. I said, when we were sponsored back then, when I was Muscle Tech sponsored, we got paid. That paid the freaking bills. All those rest of those stuff paid the bills. you know, and that was at the height of everything. You know, these guys are just and always whipping out their damn cameras in the gym to get some shit. I'm like, oh my God, you guys are killing me. Get out of the way. You know, just to get more free stuff. You know, it's like, I get it. Everyone starts somewhere, but man, be legit about it, you know, and these companies are making their money off the backs of these ambassadors. Need to be fessing up some real funds. That's straight up. That's why I don't have a sponsor. You know what? I'm cool with that. And I'll be okay with that. I got my personal training business that's leading me away. When I'm done with this, that's where I'm going to segue into, because I have nothing to hide from these individuals at that day. I'll tell them anything and everything they want to know when they want to train. And I do. I'm like, they're not my competitor, not on stage with me, so I'll tell them what they want. But that's the reason why I think social media has been, it's a great thing too. It's a great thing too. I'm not going to just shit all over it, but you know, it lets you get out there, it lets you get your tens of thousands of followers and things, so they can maybe get behind a product that you hype or something like that you truly believe in, and maybe they can help them out health wise and stuff like that. So I'm not going to poop all over it and say it's just negative, but let's see what it is. I mean, it's fire and it's ice all at the same time, man. I prefer to keep it nice and ice and stuff and chill out. I don't allow the negativity on my spot, man. I just don't have time for it. It's like, man, I got so much better things to do and better things in life, man, than to be sitting back there trashing each other. We need to be picking each other up. It's not what we're doing. We're trashing everybody at every stage that we get. We need to be lifting each other up, brothers and sisters, picking each other up, no matter what stage of life that you are, trying to help somebody out. Because at the end of the day, when I come home, I'll be okay with the fact that I was like, I'm a good dude. I can go to sleep at night. I can put my head down and be like, you know what? I'm all right. I wasn't that jerky individual that had to type, go kill yourself on IG and be cool about it. Not cool. It's not cool at all. You know what I mean? Pride and integrity. That's what it is.
For sure. All right. So who are some of the young up and comers within the 212 division that you respect, you appreciate their physique, you appreciate what they're doing?
Ooh.
You're still in the game, so it's hard for you to say that, right, David?
Most definitely, but it's hard to say that. Calderon has been a good dude. Been Angel Calderon's been fire here lately, and I've been seeing him popping up and stuff. And John Jewett, you know, he when he's there, he's there. He's definitely hit when he hits and stuff as well. Not up and comers, but the guys that, man, they start tweaking some stuff around. That Antonio Burton mutant dude, he got a great physique.
He's been on the podcast. He's somebody to watch.
Great physique. I was backstage at the Legion when his girl won, and I was like, this dude, I was like, wow, man, he had almost the same problem that Silvio Samuel had when Silvio stepped on the scene during the time. The guy had great lines, great muscle bellies and stuff. But man, you get the right coach or right diet lined out for this guy, he's going to be dangerous, straight up dangerous. He's got great looking muscle. He's got all the stuff hammered in the right direction. He's dangerous. He's definitely a dangerous one to watch. He was like William Bonnet. William Bonnet was 212, in case people didn't know. And we looked at him like, this guy's going to be trouble later. So those guys right now, to me, that immediately stand out. That's what's up.
Very cool. So just to kind of wrap it up, what are some thoughts or words that you have to share with maybe some of the younger listeners, David, that are just getting into bodybuilding? They're just getting into competing. I know we talked about the health. I'm sure that's something that you would say, but what are some words of wisdom you can share with some of our younger listeners?
Don't be too thin-skinned. Get your thick skin early, because you will have the individuals that will detract and attempt to derail you at any moment that they can, and question you on why you're embarking on a road that has potentials to do other things, but it has some great stuff too. You can learn a lot through competing in a contest about yourself. You know, you learn a lot about others too when you compete. But get thick skin early. Do what you're doing for your own purposes, not for anybody else. Treat family and friends to the highest level that you possibly can, because at the end of the day, they will be there for you. They should be there for you, unless you are one of those individuals that push them away. But keep them close. Don't believe everything you read. If you do decide to get a coach, make sure you vet them. Make sure you know who they worked with. Maybe get some references and stuff like that. Do you need a coach to compete? Most definitely not. You can do a lot of stuff on your own, but usually you'll hit a sticking point. Reach out to some of your local people and get some advice from there. Hell, reach out to me. I'll hook you up. But again, it's going to cost you.
You know what? It should cost people because you have the experience, you have the time. So you know what? You're worth it. So it should cost them, right?
Yeah, but I'm not trying to like bank on this. Like I said, the money's negligible. I'm not worried about that. I'm a shit talker and I'm a bragger all day. If people don't know, if you haven't figured it out by now, but if I can get you to a point where I can say, hell yeah, I did that, man. Money aside, bro, that's what's up. I'm gonna be there all day in your face because I'm gonna be like, I got this guy from 200. Like I got a client right now from 286 pounds down to 241. He was a tud ball. And now, and that's garnering attention from all others in the gym. Like, wow, you took a normal lifestyle dude and you changed him into this. So, you know, he has no longer man boobs and all the rest of the stuff as they were calling it. And so I was like, see, this is what I can do with normal people. I can do this stuff with other coaches. I turned a guy pro, like I said. Matt's been with me for 3 years and we got him, he turned pro at the Masters Nationals and won the overall at 44 years old. Okay, and he's a correction officer. So it's possible. I'm learning my trade. I'm trying to perfect it as best I can. I'm still learning. I'm not anywhere near the end point, but I can do it.
All right. So last question that I have for you, David, what has bodybuilding given you or what has bodybuilding taught you?
Man, it's taught me that definitely a solo venture that it is not solo. You do need people in your corner to help you out. When you think you can do stuff on your own, relationships with life, with bodybuilding and fitness, you're going to fail. Somewhere along the line, you're going to fail. You need someone to help you out. You need someone to steer your head back in line. So it's pride, integrity, you know, that's all you have, your words. If anything that's going to kill you in the industry is your words, man, your lack of following through with your words. Stay with that stuff, man. Use your core values and stuff and stick with that.
Cool. All right. David, where can people find you? Where can people connect with you? Where can people reach out to you if they'd like?
Find me on Instagram, of course, David Henry _ IFBB Pro. You can find me on Facebook, and don't believe any of those other pages out there. It is David Henry, the real DH. So if you're sending stuff to those other pages and wondering why I'm a jerk, is because I'm not that page. So don't be doing that. Like I sent this guy all kinds of stuff and he never answered me back. No, David Henry, the real DH is me officially on Facebook on that. I don't know Twitter. I don't do the other platforms and stuff. I just don't have time for that kind of thing. But they can find me there, or they can email me at dhenrypro08@gmail.com. That is the handle I'm using for that stuff. Or visit my website, you know. dhenrypro.com. Yeah. So other than that, man, I'm not hard to find.
Nope. And you know what? I just sent you a DM on Instagram, and we set up this time. So if people reach out to you, you definitely get back to them. So thank you, David, for taking some time to share your story and share some of your insights. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate you having me on, man, and get the word out. You know, great stuff happening, and thank you for the podcast and any all the others that you had on, man. I'm blessed to be where I'm at, and I'm happy with life. Thank you so much.
Cool. You're welcome. All those of you who are tuning into another episode of Behind the Muscle podcast, I just want to say thank you to you. If it wasn't for you, the podcast wouldn't exist. 3 things I would just ask of all of you. If you haven't done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Why is that important? Because I release all of these episodes first on YouTube, and then I shoot them out to all the other podcast platforms. If you are tuning in through YouTube, please just do me another huge favor. Why don't you just go down to the comment section and leave your favorite part of David's story, or maybe a takeaway from what David shared with us today. I love seeing your comments, and I always appreciate your guys' feedback. And then finally, take David's episode, share it on your Instagram stories. Make sure you tag David. Make sure you tag Behind the Muscle so that we know you listened. and you found value specifically in this episode. And then finally, I will leave you all with this. Remember, behind the muscle, there's always a story. We'll catch you guys later.